So I guess some of the things that we talked about today in the groups that I was facilitating was about innovation and disruption. And so in one of them we looked at about what it means to be an innovator and some of the personal challenges that come up with that word and the expectations, and also the word leadership and the expectations on that. And we talked about ways of overcoming them. And that was really interesting. And then the second group had a completely different kind of idea about what that title meant, about looking at innovation and disruption. So we actually dissected what disruption is and its relationship with innovation, which was really cool because we kind of covered things like when you're being innovative, like is it inevitable that you're going to be disruptive because that's what change is, and then how do you navigate that? So that was a very interesting discussion, very different for both groups. I think it was really significant that we had such diversity in age groups and also working backgrounds in every group, and I noticed a lot for the group that I was facilitating. And I think it was really great that we had something unique where everyone was willing to listen. So the people who were older and had a lot more experience in certain areas were still really open to learning, and so were all of the younger people. You know, there was no attitude of, you know, well, I know what it's like to be young, so I know the answer. There was no negativity. Everybody was there to learn from everybody else, which was really great. In terms of recognizing leadership in everybody, regardless of age, gender, experience, everything else, I think that that's really significant because there's parts of leadership that are learned and then parts of leadership that I think are innate, and I think everybody has the ability to be a leader and has traits to make them a leader. And so, you know, to kind of assume that leadership has any particular way of looking, that anyone in particular is more prone to being a leader because of who they are or what they look like, is really to cut off so much opportunity in this world for everybody. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's just so real. I think everybody demonstrated great leadership by being okay with that and being okay with learning from everybody. First of all, for Australia in general, we know that we've got an ageing population. We know that we've also got a lot of rapid changes that are happening at the moment. And I think that for young people to be learning at an early age to understand change and what that means and what their role can be in that change is really, really significant, because it's not going to be long before that group of people is what we're relying on. Something in particular that I found inspiring was the fact that there was diversity on the panel. And yes, working diversity of different workplaces and different experiences, but also cultural diversity, which for me is very, very significant, because I know that wherever I went when I attended these kinds of things, I was looking for people who might have experienced similar things to me, and often that wasn't there. So I didn't feel represented in that space, and I felt like I didn't take, you know, obviously you learn from everybody and everything, but it just felt like, okay, this didn't really cater to me as an individual. And so I felt that today something that stood out was that I did see Indigenous people in the crowd that I know personally that would have been there, you know, maybe not just because there was an Indigenous person on the panel, but I'm sure that they got something out of having somebody there speaking from that experience. And the same thing with myself, I saw some people from, you know, African backgrounds and Muslim backgrounds, and that, you know, was a reminder for me of why coming onto these platforms is really important, but also the feedback that I got when I spoke to them afterwards showed that they got something out of me being there, and I guess naming some of the issues or experiences that they face. And I think that that's really significant. And I think that's something that Open State did well, and that kind of thing needs to happen because we need to continue to see representation, because when we talk about leadership, it needs to be in all of the minority communities as well, and we need to, as a state, if this is Open State, be facilitating it in all of these spaces, not just for the majority audience. So that was really significant today.